How did we go from having one recognised left back for almost the entirety of last season to talking about 4 different ones in the same video? Welcome, Blue Believers, to another episode of the Stamford Sync, where we are syncing up with everything Chelsea FC. And yeah, man, literally, it's just a madness, isn't it? I mean, it's always a madness. It's the transfer window. It's Chelsea. We know it's always going to be a madness. But as I said, we're talking about 4 different left-backs today, and that just makes you question, where were some of these guys last season? Marc Cucurella must be absolutely knackered from playing all this football. So is this a sign of a missed opportunity from last season, or does it just show that things are going in the right direction? Let's have a little chat about it. But before we get into it, if you are enjoying the content and would like to see more, please do me the distinct honour of liking and sharing the video, subscribe to the channel, or just roast me in the comments, whatever gets you through your day. We've smashed that 500 subs mark and we are curtailing towards 600, and it's been like 4 days. Oh mate, you guys are absolute legends. Thank you so much. So if you can spare me that second of your time, that millisecond of your time, literally just to click the button, click a like, or if you've got a couple of seconds, throw in a comment. Let's have a chat about what's going on. Thank you so much, guys, but I'll stop there. I'll get into the video now. Right, so 4 different left-back stories to talk about. What is even going on? But we'll start with the really good stuff first, right? The really good stuff is that despite hearing some noise recently that Al-Nassr, after snapping up Joao Felix, was supposedly interested in looking at taking Marc Cucurella off our hands at the behest of a certain Mr. Ronaldo, Chelsea have seen that and been like, no, because apparently right now they are in new contract negotiations for Marc Cucurella. And if I'm completely honest, I'm surprised that hasn't already happened. Nicholas Jackson got a new contract after the first year. This is like Marc Cucurella's 3rd season with us now. He's been there kind of since the start of the Blueco era, and yes, he started badly, but he has gone from being right at the bottom to one of the most consistent names in our team, and almost a guaranteed first name on the team sheet, if for no other reason than we don't have any other choice. Marc Cucurella has proved so valuable in so many different situations. He might be one of the most versatile players I've ever seen. He can play left back, left wing back, left centre back, centre mid, 10, left wing kind of thing. Oh mate, he can just play anywhere in and around that left side and in the midfield, and it has proven so valuable, right? It was originally Pochettino that kind of unlocked him, our first foray into the inverted midfielder, and it kind of marked a massive turnaround in form for Chelsea in that season. We'd been really struggling, and as soon as Pochettino was like, I'm going to try this little guy in midfield, things just started to get better, and Cucurella has gone from strength to strength ever since. So I just think it's well deserved. I guess one of the reasons he hasn't already had it is because when we bought him, we hadn't implemented the incentivized wage structure yet. Do you know what I mean? He was bought in and around the same kind of time as the likes of Raheem Sterling and Koulibaly. And although he's not on like mega wages, he's not on that incentive structure. So maybe that's the reason he hadn't already been offered a contract, but hopefully he will sign this new one soon. He seems to be really happy at the club. Enzo Maresca obviously absolutely loves him. He's getting game time, he's developing, and he's become a cult icon. I said kind of at the start, and do you know what? If I'm completely honest, I wasn't on YouTube at the time, so I can't verify this, but I was backing Cucurella from the off. Even when he was in that kind of rough period in the Graham Potter season, I was very much like, I think he might be our new Azpilicueta. Do you know what I mean? Different kind of player, but just that same solid, consistent player. For me, he's definitely got vice-captain energy as well. And I'm really glad we stuck with him because, like I say, I was shouting it from the rooftops of France where I was living at the time, and I had no football friends, so literally no one was listening to me. But I wanted Cucurella to stay because I had a feeling that he'd end up coming good, and lo and behold, he has. So that's great news, right? It's really good to see. Not only are we going in for, your Jarell Hatos, and who I'll get into in a little bit, we are also starting to look at rewarding the players that are playing really well in our squad and trying to keep the team together. So wicked. Congratulations, Marc Cucurella. I hope they offer you a good bag, and I really hope you accept the contract, because at this point, oh man, if we lose you, that's just not going to be good, is it? But I honestly don't think that'll happen. I think Marc Cucurella will stay. I think we'll have him until he's 30. And like I say, I just think he's that new Azpilicueta, the reliable 7 out of 10 every single game that you can always rely on. So, as I mentioned, there is something to talk about. We're in the Joao Hato chase. Jorel Hato, actually, I think it might be Jorel Hato. Apologies if he hears this. But yeah, Jorel Hato is being talked about again, and there was some noise a little while ago. I think I actually mentioned it in a video the other day. We kind of went in with like a 30 to 35 mil bid. Ajax sort of said, no, we want more money. And then it was like, oh, bit of a standoff. So that might have been the reason that the deal hasn't already gone through, because it looked like Ajax were going to try and harangue us for a little bit more cash. But if news is to be believed, Chelsea are standing firm on their valuation valuation of Joao Hato. And do you know what? I don't even think it's as much about the valuation of Hato as it is about Ajax are in a bit of a sticky financial situation themselves and they really need to sell. So I think Chelsea are kind of banking on that to not have to overpay for Joao Hato, and they seem pretty convinced that we will get our man regardless. And to be honest, there doesn't seem to be a huge amount of other teams in for him. I did mention the other day he's asked to be excluded from the preseason because he wants to get this move through. So if there's pressure coming from his camp to Ajax, then Chelsea don't even need to go back in with other bids, because the last thing that they're going to want is a transfer request, because that will just lower his value even more, and then we might get him for even cheaper. So it does feel reasonably nailed on. I wouldn't say we're lowballing for him as such, because we are actually offering a little bit more than we originally did. Supposedly we're willing to go from somewhere to £37 million to £39 million, and they're asking for about 50. And we've seen recently with like the Mike Maignan deal, for instance, do you know what I mean? If the brass are like, no, absolutely not, they will just, hold firm and not do that. So it's inching closer every single day, like a little inchworm. We are, it's one of those things, isn't it? It's like, how many times can you make news videos about we're closer to this move, we're closer to this move? It seems to be getting closer every single day. I will only try and comment on it when there's something new to comment on. As if I can avoid it, I don't want to get into the habit of releasing repetitive content just because there's nothing else to talk about. But in this situation, more news has come out about the supposed structure and, why we haven't signed him yet and how much they want. And, there's some more information to talk about. But yeah, it does feel like maybe we won't get them both at exactly the same time, but the double Dutch is edging ever closer. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Joao Hato being the first one we get in that deal. So that's going to be interesting, isn't it? Because Hato is not like a Renato Veigo, who I will get onto later. Veigo was a relative unknown when we bought him, but Joao Hato has been, looked at by other clubs. Lots of people know who he is. He's obviously very young and is playing top level football. And it's not just going to be a case of him being happy to come in and be an understudy to Cucurella. He's definitely going to want game time, and, he's going to really, really fight for that. So that I always think competition is good. I'm 100% an advocate of competition. I've mentioned it several times recently in regards to the striking situation, that I think a lack of competition is actually one of the things that's hurt us there. And while I don't think we'll have exactly the same problem with Cucurella, this again could be a twofold positive, right? It could be either Joao Hato comes in and is unbelievable and edges Cucurella out of that spot, which I think is unlikely but not impossible, or that extra competition just makes Cucurella become even better. Do you know what I mean? He scored like 7 goals in all competitions last season. So, scoring goals is already a thing in his game. Maybe this could afford him a bit more time in other roles as well. Maybe we start to see the likes of Cucurella. You know how, for instance, Reece James is sometimes put in a centre defensive midfield spot, maybe in a sticky patch, or if we're, going up against a team that we need to try something different in, maybe Marc Cucurella in midfield becomes something we see next season as well. Obviously, there's precedent for it outside of Reece James, because we've also seen Gusto spend a lot of time in the midfield. So it just creates lots of things, doesn't it? It's like it creates competition for Cucurella, which is good for two things. Either Cucurella gets better, or Joao Hato takes him over, or they both just steadily improve. And maybe it unlocks the opportunity for the manager to use Cucurella in different ways that we haven't even thought about yet. So I'm 100% behind the Joao Hato move. It's interesting as well, isn't it? Because looking at it like that, there's actually a lot of parallels to Reece James and Malo Gusto. Gusto isn't like, the right back, but he does play a lot of games. He got a huge amount of game time last season. So we could potentially expect Joao Hato to kind of be our left-sided version of Gusto and offer something a little bit different, because he can also play in that centre-back role, which would be great support for Levi Colwill. So yes, ostensibly I am a fan. Let's get it over the line and hopefully it happens soon. Tell me what you think in the comments, guys. Do you think that if they wanted 50 mil for Joao Hato, we should absolutely just pay it? Or do you think that we're doing the right thing by not lowballing them as such, but juxtaposing how much we've offered versus their financial situation and the fact that Hato seems to be pushing the move through? I'd love to know what you think. Get it down there. Right, so I mentioned him a little bit, and we will move on to the news about Renato Veigo. So, man, just left backs. Now, technically, I suppose you could argue Renato Veiga's not actually a left back. In fact, the reason that he isn't really going to be with us anymore is because he's come out and specifically said, I want to play as a centre back. But when we bought him, that seemed to be 100% the role that he was going to fulfil, right? Essentially, what we're going to be looking for Joao Hato to do, he was going to deputise at left back, maybe play a little bit in midfield and potentially in centre back as well. But he came out strong, and fair play to him. Do you know what I mean? Fair play to him. He came out strong and said, I want to play as a centre-back. He had suitors like Juventus, and he's got other suitors that we'll talk about in a minute. So, I can't blame him. At the end of the day, we're going to make really good money for him because we bought him for so cheap. So in this window so far, I have talked about 2 teams that have already been in for Renato Veigo, and both of them make sense. Vincent Kompany's Bayern Munich and Diego Simeone's classic Atletico Madrid team. Now, as of late, the Atletico news seems to be the news that was happening, right? That seemed to be, they were willing to pay, I think it was like 40 million euros, which is like 34 to 35 million pounds, which is great. We like triple how much we paid for him. Like, that's absolutely awesome. I think he'd fit well in that team. He's strong, he's robust, he's quick, he's technical, very intelligent guy as well. But there has been something else new that has come out today that I do find quite interesting, and there is precedent to say that this might happen as well. So supposedly Al-Nassr are in the market for a new left back at the behest of a certain Renato. Renato is the one that told him to go in for Marc Cucurella, and you would have to imagine that, being that Renato Veigo is his Portuguese compatriot, maybe he's been in the ear of the Al-Nassr brass being like, get that guy instead. And this makes sense. Like I say, they just apparently went in for Marc Cucurella, and obviously we've rebuffed that and we're like, no, we're keeping him and we're offering him a new contract. But if they're looking to upgrade their left back situation, then Renato Veigo also makes sense. He'd cost a lot less than Cucurella will. He's Portuguese, so he'll have that relationship with Ronaldo and the newly acquired Joao Felix already. He's still very young, so he's also a player that they might be able to potentially make money on later. If they keep him for a couple of years and he carries on doing well, they could probably recoup the same money they got for him or sell him for an even higher profit. So there's a lot of reasons why Renato Veigo to Al-Nassr makes sense. They'd have had to pay 70, 80 mil for Cucurella, do you know what I mean? So they'll pay half of that to get someone like Renato Veigo, who will probably do pretty well over there because he's proven he did all right in the Conference League and with Chelsea when he did, and he played pretty well for Juventus as well. It's just interesting. Do they want him as a left back? Because he specifically stated, I want to be a centre back. So I guess we'll have to see what happens with that one. But either way, it does look like one way or the other, Renato Veigo is going to be out the door. There's lots of suitors for him. I wish him well. He wasn't here long enough for me to have a really invested opinion about him either way. Do you know what I mean? So this one just makes sense to me. Al-Nassr have obviously just really sorted us out with the Joao Felix deal, and if they come in for Renato Veigo, then that is just going to be another one off the books, money made, wicked. Then we can start focusing on other targets. And finally, the fourth left back I'm going to talk about in today's video is a young academy player that, I'm not going to lie to you, I'd seen his name a couple of times throughout the season in general Chelsea news, but I'd never really seen it as been like he's trying to get in the first team, or we're going to look at selling him, or, you get it sometimes, like your Reggie Walshes and that, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, look how good this guy is. And it is Ishe Sameuels. So it's not even an apparently, right? This is happening. Ishe Sameuels is being sold to sister club Strasbourg for £6.4 million. He didn't really even get close to the first team at Chelsea last season, but he did make a whopping 52 appearances for the academy teams, right? I think it was mostly the under-19s, but various academy teams. He played 52 times last year, and obviously the lad feels ready to make the next step up. Now, this is really interesting for a couple of reasons. One, I'd never heard about him, so we're making £6 million profit in the bag for a player that wasn't even close to our first team. That's wicked. And the fact that we're selling him to Strasbourg as well for a reasonable fee, it's like a loan. And the reason I find this interesting is because I made a video a little while ago about Strasbourg and the multi-club model and what I think Blueco and the owners are trying to do to change the scope of football. Not necessarily the scope for everyone, but essentially, especially how we do business. Go and check out that video if you haven't already. But yeah, I said in that video, man, I think that with the multi-club model, the idea is to kind of use it to supplement and eventually take over the loan system. Because obviously Chelsea ruined the loan system with the loan army when we were sending 40 players out on loan, 30 to 40 players out on loan every season. And UEFA came in and said, no, you can't do that anymore. You've spoiled it for everyone because you can only loan 15 players now. And that causes us problems, right? Because what you want to use those 15 loan spots for is getting young players and academy players, get them out there, getting them experience and, raising their value and seeing if they can make it in the first team. But what we often end up doing is end up loaning the likes of Raheem Sterling, Ben Chilwell, these guys on big wages that we just want away from the team. And those loan spots get taken up. So it doesn't really make sense for us. So with this multi-club model, especially that we're looking to expand it, again, go check out the video for more information on that. It makes sense that we're making these sales and they're not really typical sales. It's not like if we sell someone to Strasbourg, like we sold them Diego Moreira, we just sold them Matisse Mugo, and now we're selling them Ishe Sameuels. We still retain interest and connection to these players. So it's not like if they do well, if they do really well and then end up getting sold somewhere else, we're going to have egg on our faces because of the multi-club model, we're still in complete control of this whole system. If the likes of Ishe Sameuels and Matisse Mugo go out there and do really well, we still retain the option about what we want to do with them. So I wish the lad really well. I think he's like 18, 19 as well, really young lad. Getting a big move to Ligue 1 at this age is massive for him. And maybe we never see him in a Chelsea shirt. That is a distinct possibility with a lot of these young players. But ultimately, if he goes out there and does the business, it is going to benefit Chelsea one way or the other. So I see it as a smart move. And I'd rather see loan players get sold to Strasbourg than go out to the Championship and not get the management and experience that they need. He's more likely to develop well playing under a manager that we kind of really like in Liam Rosinia and competing for European honours, right? I think so. They've made it into the Conference League, haven't they? They've made it into the Conference League. So he's going to get European football next year as well, from a 19-year-old going from the academy to a 6th place finished or a 7th place finished League R team with European football is a massive move, and potentially that could really explode his career. So like I say, I just think it's a good thing. From a Chelsea fan's perspective, right? Now, another thing I talked about in the other videos was this kind of thing might not be amazing for the Strasbourg fans, and, you know, maybe it changes their culture and stuff. But hopefully, if Strasbourg continue to go from strength to strength, that won't prove to be an issue, and it all will just be sunshine and flowers. So I'm going to wrap it up there, guys. It has just been a purely left-back video today because there's just so much news about left-backs. There is lots of other news going on, and I am conscious about releasing too many videos in a day because I want to make sure that you guys are seeing what I'm putting out. So I'll pick up tomorrow with news about people like Garnacho, and if we're any close to the Xavi Simons deal, and if there's anything else going on with Morgan Rogers. So nice one, guys. I hope you're having a wicked day, and I can't wait to catch up with you very, very soon. Take it easy. Peace.